get people on. Thanks for everyone. There's loads of you already here. Hello. Great, we'll get started. So welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us to explore London's life sciences ecosystem today. So just a quick note on housekeeping here. We wanted to ask everyone to remain on mute until we come to the Q&A session in a little bit. And if you can have your name and company name. So if you want to change your name, you just hover over your name, press on to more, and then click on rename. And then you can put maybe your first name and your company name on there, just so that we know in case you want to ask a question who to refer to. And for our companies who are located in China, we have a QR code here on the slide for the WeChat group, which our team has created. So if you would like to take this opportunity to scan the QR code on the slide here. So any questions you might have during the event today, please post them on the chat function. My colleague NIHR, who's based in Bangalore, will be monitoring the chat and asking you to put any comments, any questions there. And then we also have a Q&A session at 9:30 in half an hour. And there will be a second Q&A as well. So this meeting will be recorded, and we will share the recording and the slides with everyone who signed up to the meeting. My name is Surah Hussain, and I'm a senior inward investment manager here at London & Partners. And my job is to work with life sciences and health tech companies from all over the world to help them get connected and set up a presence in London. And I'll be guiding you through the event today. Kun, can you move to the next slide? So for those of you who don't know us yet, just a quick introduction. So we are London's trade, investment and promotional agency. We are a public-private non-for-profit organization, and our aim is to achieve good growth for London by attracting international companies like yourselves to set up in London. Once companies are here, we also have further business support for them to grow and export as well. And all our services are free of charge. We work with companies from all over the world, and we have put this event together today to showcase what London has to offer. And London is a great place for businesses to come and grow, to collaborate, because it merges the life sciences with the tech sector and the supportive ecosystem, because it has the talent, the finance, the research capabilities, regulators, and of course the NHS as our healthcare system as a potential market. So if we can just show you quickly our agenda. We've sent it in the email as well. So we have great speakers with us today who represent part of the ecosystem. And this should hopefully highlight the support available to you. And we hope by the end of today's session, you'll have a much better idea about London and what support we can offer you to get connected. So as I said, we work with companies worldwide, and we do have our own London & Partners offices across the world. So we have offices in China, India, North America, and Europe. So as we have a very strong representation from Asia today, I will ask my colleague Bingbing Cha from our Beijing office to come online now to introduce the team. Over to you, Bingbing.
Thank you, Surah, for the introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone online. My name is Bingbing Zhao, Chief Representative of Great China for London Partners. As Surah mentioned, except London, we have offices in 5 countries, including China and India. In China, as you see from the slides, we have 3 offices, Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Beijing and the Shanghai office were established in 2011, around the same time London Partner was set up. And our Shenzhen office was set up in 2018, which also covering Taiwan and the Great Bay Area, including Hong Kong and Macau. Here are our 9 China team members on the slides. some are online today, waving at you, and actually I'm with Jackie and Dana in Beijing, who are just behind me in the same room. So shall we move to the next slide, please? And our India team is led by Hermin Barucha, Chief Representative India. There are 2 offices in India, Buzin and Dazat based in Mumbai, Divya and Nihai based in Bangalore. Divya and Nihai are facilitating our event today, so who you may see also from the screen at the moment. We are a very small team in China and in India, but our team have rich experiences in business development, and we are all very passionate for London. Working closely with our team, London team and the partners, we have successfully helped hundreds of companies from all kinds of sectors setting up in London and created a few thousand jobs for the city. We have also supported a few trade missions for London fast-growing companies through Mayor's International Business Program to access business opportunity in China and India. The services we provided are free and keep the client's information confidential. On behalf of London Partners Asian team, I'd like to express a warm welcome to all the Asian companies who join our event today. Hope you find today's event very useful and looking forward to follow up with you from Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Mumbai, Bangalore, and London. Thank you, Surah.
Thank you, Bing Bing. That was wonderful. So now I have the great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Daniel Gooch, who is from the Mayors of London office, who will talk to us about why London is a great place for life sciences companies. Over to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Surah. Welcome, everyone. I know we have over 100 people on the call from Australia, Belgium, China, India, Finland, Korea, and elsewhere. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us, and we'd like to help you bring your company to London, part of the world's 3rd largest cluster for life sciences, which I think of as 4 Ds: drugs, devices, diagnostics, and digital health. I am Daniel Gooch, and I lead on the life sciences policy at the Greater London Authority, normally based at City Hall by those beautiful iconic Tower Bridge, but today from my sofa near Wimbledon's famous tennis court. My job is all about getting the business environment right for companies such as yours, which is usually around 4 Ps: access to place, access to people, talent if you like, access to partners, and access to pounds, as we have pounds here, not euros. We do this as London's mayor has long supported life sciences as fundamental to London's success, providing substantial jobs and economic benefit, as well as supporting the health and well-being of Londoners. Some stats to set the scene for today, as well as the first vaccine dose. Well done. Economic benefit. The UK life sciences sector generates an annual turnover of £73 billion. Jobs. The sector supports around 500,000 jobs, with around a third in London. Talent. 50,000 science graduates every year, the largest talent pool you'll find in Europe. And pounds. The UK attracts more international investment than anywhere else in Europe. In 2019, the sector raised about £1.3 billion and secured around a quarter of all the VC funding going into Europe. First off then, access to place. London is probably the best place in the world for companies to grow and collaborate, as it fuses life sciences with the tech sector, universities, research institutions, charities, and the biopharma industry. Innovative businesses are working together to find solutions for our biggest population challenges, such as respiratory diseases, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and not forgetting rare diseases, which collectively affect 1 in 17 of us. We have major life science clusters at all points of London's compass. In the north, around the Eurostar terminal, in the south, around Sutton, where there's great expertise in cancer, and in the east, around Whitechapel, and the west, around White City, home of Novartis's UK headquarters and Imperial's research hub, one of the biggest investments by a university into research and development this millennium, which the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, opened in April 2019. London is simply an amazing global brand to be associated with. Now, you might be considering elsewhere in Europe. I worked in life sciences in the Netherlands and Germany, and Scandinavia is also strong for life sciences, all of which are wonderful countries, but they just do not have the concentration of all the life science elements you need in one place. Plus, it's always nice to have good neighbours. Ours include Oxford and Cambridge, which are simply legendary for life sciences. Access to pounds. We have the money. Access to capital is a global strength. London has one of the most successful financial sectors in the world. Over 70 venture capital firms invest in life sciences in London. And we're talking big money. This June, London biotechnology company Freeline Therapeutics, which is focused on the development of gene therapies for bleeding disorders, raised $120 million. We also have a favourable R&D tax credits and a vibrant investment landscape within the enterprise investment schemes. Access to partners. We are on a London and Partners call, and throughout the event, you will get to know some of the partners and opportunities available to you. I find it fascinating where partnerships break out from the traditional sector boundaries, such as virtual reality approaches to help with stroke recovery, artificial intelligence enhanced image analysis to support clinical decision making, and prescription apps to fortify our mental health. Access to people, but you can't make things without people who provide the brains and the dexterity to create new products and services. We've long welcomed people from everywhere and have 5 of the world's top 20 universities here or nearby in Cambridge and Oxford. Those 3 cities produce over 50,000 life science graduates every year, the largest talent pool in Europe. We also host in London the Wellcome Trust, Europe's largest health charity. It is within a few minutes walk of world-class research centres, including the Alan Turing Institute, which is the UK's new National Institute for Data Science, and the Francis Crick Institute, which is Europe's largest centre for biological research and innovation, all close to the magnificent Eurostar terminal at St Pancras, which gives us an enduring physical link with the mainland Europe, and which is a triumph of international collaboration, as it's the UK's biggest ever engineering project. So come to London. So whether you're looking for a place or money or people or a partnership, we've got that, and look forward to you coming to London and making your mark on history in one of the world's greatest cities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. That was fantastic. Thank you for opening the event for us. I'm now delighted to have 2 very esteemed guests with us, Neelam Patel, the CEO of MedCity, and Professor Claude Chilala from Bart's NHS Trust. Neelam, can I hand over to you?
Yes, thank you very much, Sura, and what an act to follow after Daniel. I'm really delighted to be here this morning. So before I introduce Claude, just a little bit on MedCity. So MedCity works very closely with London and Partners with a very similar aim to support companies wishing to find out more about London's health and life science sector and helping them connect to the right relationships, networks and infrastructure to be able to grow and develop. We are certainly the Google Maps for health and life sciences, so absolutely delighted to be here today. So Daniel talked a little bit in his introduction about space, infrastructure and the developments within London. And for this very short session this morning, I wanted to put a magnifying glass really to the developments going on at Bart's and introduce Professor Claude Chilala. Now, Bart's Health Sciences and Queen Mary's University of London is placed in East London, if you can visualise what Daniel was talking about, east, west, south and north. And this is the home of the 100,000 Genomes Project and some of the great work going on there in exploring precision medicine and AI and data. So what I'd like to do now is ask Professor Claude Chilala to introduce herself briefly, tell us a little bit about how you came to London yourself, if that's okay, and then just touch on some of the work that she's been doing in developing a fantastic software solution, and then talk a little bit about just the geography and the ambition for BARTS and the QMUL development. Welcome, Claude. Oh, I think you're on mute, maybe.
Sorry. Thank you, Nilam. Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here today. So I'm Claude Chilala. I'm Professor of Bioinformatics at BARTS Cancer Institute, which is part of the BARTS Life Sciences, the joint venture between BARTS Health and Queen Mary University of London. So I am a computational biologist, and many years ago I was based in Paris doing a lot of fundamental research in computational biology. And I moved to London many years ago, driven by a really big desire and motivation to translate my research from a computational setting to the patient setting. So how do we expand all the tools and the methods that we develop and apply it in a population settings? And I have to say, Northeast London, the community that we serve is a fantastic, diverse population, where you could see the work that you do in the computational or in the life science setting translated to help improve the health and the economic of our population. So this was my motivation, and I've never looked back. I think even despite Brexit, I'm not going back. I think London is the place to be if you want to work in bioinformatics or in digital health. Yeah, so I am mainly working in cancer research. I know you've asked me to talk about the software tool that we've been developing, but I would like to say that our work covers next generation sequencing and how it could be applied to improve prognosis and diagnostic for cancer. And very recently, we've been trying to translate some of the software work that we do and try to apply it for COVID-19 research. So I'm happy to say a few words about this if you would like me to.
Yes, please, Claude, if you tell us a little bit about the software and also how you sort of pivoted the software to address some of the COVID-19 challenges. And I'm sure the companies today would really like to learn about how they can engage with you and work with you to make the best of that technology for themselves. Okay.
We did develop a software. It's called SNPnexus. It's very popular. It's used around the world in many countries and very high esteemed institutions. Our focus is to translate the millions of variants that come out from a next generation sequencing analysis to pinpoint those that are clinically relevant for a specific phenotype. So SNPnexus is like a one-stop shop that would take the variants that come out from sequencing. So for those of you who are familiar with sequencing, we deal with VCF files, millions and millions of variants, and we try to navigate and guide researchers through a very friendly web interface to pinpoint those that are clinically relevant. So we bring together diverse annotations that would explain more the context of the variant and how they could be affecting or how they could be implicated in a certain phenotype. And a few years ago, we started working with some companies that showed interest in customizing this tool for specific research, multifactorial diseases or skin aging. Recently, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been trying to improve and customize SNPnexus to be able to help with COVID-19 research. So host genetics, how could we pinpoint the variants that could be clinical targets, or they could be of relevance to COVID-19. So we know that we all are susceptible to this virus based on our ethnic background or based on our genetic makeup and our susceptibility to certain diseases. And SNPnexus helps a lot in that by taking into account the wider population and how you can pinpoint those variants that you need to focus on. So we've just released the COVID-19 instance. It's been released last Friday. And we are looking forward to working with company customizing this solution for their needs. So if anyone is interested, I'm happy to talk further about this and how we could customize and provide custom support if you want to expand it for your own needs.
That's fantastic, Claude, and I'm sure if we had more time, we could dive in deeper into the technology itself and some of the applications. But perhaps that's something that the companies here can come back to you on later on. So finally, I know that there's quite a lot of development that's planned for Barts Health and the Whitechapel area itself, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity then to have companies know what's happening and perhaps encourage companies to understand if that geography would fit to their needs as well. So perhaps you can say a few words on the plans and the ambition for that development.
Yes, so it's actually a fantastic effort. It's the largest purpose-built space, I think, in London. I think London, as we heard, has so many opportunities, but the development in Whitechapel is a fantastic base for companies wishing to expand their lab research, their commercial work in London. It's available now for renting. There are plans to expand on this space in 2021, I think, in 2023. So it's developing, and it would be a great base for companies wanting to grow and expand their activities in London, and even startup companies who want to base themselves in Northeast London. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Claude. Thank you for your insights. And with that, I'll hand over to Sora.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you. Thank you for sharing it. And just to let everyone know, we've been sharing contact details and further resource links to what was just discussed by Nilam and Claude in the chat as well. So you can have a look at the software, and please do let us know if you have any further questions on this. We can take this offline with you. So now I'm very pleased to introduce our fireside chat, which my colleague Divya Bajaj, the VP based in Bangalore, will be holding with Daryl Baker from Shivom, which is a genomics blockchain startup. Divya, over to you to introduce the session.
Thank you, Sura. Hello, everybody. I'm Divya Bajaj, Vice President, London and Partners. We help primarily Indian companies set up and grow in the City of London. With me, I have Daryl Baker. Daryl, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some of the London experience with our company.
My pleasure.
Right, Daryl, let's begin. First of all, can I ask you to introduce yourself and Shivom, please?
My name is Dr. Daryl Baker. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing for Shivom. Shivom is an Indian startup that provides end-to-end bioinformatics and blockchain AI platform analysis. And this provides ease of running of these pipelines in digital health. And the specific aim is really to reduce the turnaround times for patient understanding and patient discovery.
Fascinating, Daryl. Now tell me, why did you choose London to set up your business? What were the key drivers behind it?
Well, I mean, I have a reputation in the UK for introducing companies to Europe. So usually North American, Chinese companies that are looking for, Series A, Series B companies that are looking for access to European markets. And the main reason really, it's simple. And I think we've touched on some of these topics earlier. The premises, the people, the systems, the technology, the clients. London's that Goldilocks zone where all these elements seem to come together, and it's a beautiful place in the sense that you have this convergence of innovative life sciences companies, world-leading fintech, world-leading blockchain, coupled with leading researchers, biotechs, pharma, and they're all linked to world-class infrastructure and supply chain. I mean, we haven't really talked about the ease of travel within London as well. And so you get that together in such a small zone that you can accomplish some amazing things in a very short space of time. And that's a key reason. It's all about turnaround times and getting things done as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Absolutely, Daryl. The connectivity is fantastic. In a normal world, London had 400 flights going in and out.
Indeed, yes. But I mean, London has Heathrow, it has Gatwick, and it has Stansted airports that are local major international airports that have infrastructure, rail, and networks that takes around the world, around the world quite literally because of the tunnel as well.
Absolutely, Daryl. Now, I know that Shivom has a relatively small core team, so you are relying on getting access to talent for projects. How do you feel London has benefited your company when it comes to access to talent?
Yeah, I mean, talent's one of those key things, and it's a key driving factor for any successful company. It drives the value, the creation, and the process. We identified those needs, and we need these to generate solutions for our client needs. And so, to mobilize those inputs and conduct those kinds of activities that we need to do on a clinical setting, we need those partners, those customers, and those people in place. And so London partners themselves, donors, patients, and customers, they're all in this nice kind of unique area of us to exploit and to utilize. And so the talent pool within London, and even as we talked about Cambridge and Oxford and the surrounding areas, there's a great talent pool there, from the biotech industry through to fintech, through to financial, legal, and the science and the graduates in terms of biological, genomics, computational, and even business. London School of Economics, for instance, they all provide these amazing resources and individuals that we can bring into a company and be effective straight away. And I think that's one of the key factors. The talent pool in London, there's no other country, there's no other city, there's no other country on the planet that has the resources that London has as a city. And it's quite remarkable in terms of we can actually find talent quite easily within London. I mean, we find no problems at all.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you.
Makes life a lot easier when we're planning ahead and making decision-making processes. Absolutely. And that's one of the key things when we're planning ahead, we can actually make those decision-makings based on that.
Absolutely, Daryl. Now, you are working with a variety of companies and organizations, right from the NHS to pharma to research institutes, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Access to clients is one of the key drivers for companies wanting to come to London. Can you tell us some of the working with the NHS and how you've managed to overcome that?
Well, we usually start with innovative products and an innovation idea, working with the NHS to find those solutions to a host of clinical problems. We're in the clinical sector, and so we're looking at how we can actually incentivize, work hand in hand on solutions for individuals. It could be clinicians that are looking for a specific point of care solution. It could be some digital health solution that they're looking for, some bioinformatics pipeline they want to develop. Shivom's a unique company in the sense that what we're trying to do is bring the understanding and the incentivization, the monetization of that to the actual NHS as well. So it's not just we're coming to the NHS or the pharma or biotechs to sort of like sell a solution. What we're trying to do is for them to enhance the platform too, and so that they can generate benefit. And so we can do what we call inward innovation, which is the technology itself and the understanding of that, but also outward innovation so that we can actually promote what the NHS are doing and promote what the clinicians are doing on a broader spectrum. We've seen that with the integration of the way Queen Mary, which is a university in London, links with Genomics England, and Genomics England links into the NHS. And so we have this, again, throughout the UK, we have a network of hospitals and technologies and understanding that's all interacted and it's all coming together. We use AI ourselves in the approach to this. There are, as with all pipelines, and when people, systems, and technologies intermingle, there's sometimes it breaks or sometimes things happen. But as Bob Ross says, they're happy accidents that we like to find, and it's usually a way of us finding interesting areas that haven't been answered or have been neglected. And so we find that there's lots of opportunity there in the NHS.
Fantastic, Daryl. You know, we're going through so much information, and I'm sure there's so much here, but we have very little time. So finally, and to sign off, what would be your top 3 tips that you give companies that are thinking about setting up in London?
Well, chance favours prepared mind. Plan ahead. Work with London partners. As they've said, and people have spoken earlier, they're an amazing group of individuals. They've given us so much help, guidance, and pointers in sort of the, I mean, I thought I knew a lot about this by bringing companies in, but they take it to a completely different level in terms of getting you really immersed into the London life science community, and even the wider community if you're looking for things that are not in your bag, really. I mean, it could be that we're a tech heavy company, but we need legal or financial advice, and so they can help there. So finding partners is one of those great things. Also, the hiring side of things, the talent pool here is amazing. I think somebody talked about diverse teams and diverse patient data sets, but there's a diverse section of individuals out here within London that we can actually really sort of tailor a solution to those particular individuals. And again, I guess one of my things is choose wisely your location in London. You don't need to follow the crowd. I think you can actually find a bespoke or unique area, so you're not having to jump into a specifically expensive area. You can actually develop areas within London, and there's lots of development opportunities for any company to sort of go into in London. So yeah, be prepared, hire the best, and then find that wise location in London, and it's a perfect marriage.
Thank you so much, Daryl. That's all that we had time for. Do stick around. We have some Q&A. I'm signing off now. Surah, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for those really practical tips, Daryl. That was brilliant. So we'll make a note of those. And if anyone is interested in exploring more locations of London, we can set up a one-to-one chat with you we've heard about Barts in the East, but there's lots more locations we can talk about. So we do have now about 10 minutes for a Q&A, and Neha has been monitoring the chat. So Neha, if I can bring you online to ask the questions from the chat, and we also had a few pre-submitted questions through the Eventbrite.
Yes, we do have 2 questions, Surah. The first one is for Neelam from MedCity. So we have a mask manufacturing company from China who would like to know how to become an NHS supplier.
Well, that's quite a direct question. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm the best person to answer that question, actually. And I know that we have Rob and Susie on the session here as well, who work more directly with the NHS. So perhaps I can defer that question on to Susie or Rob.
Great. Does anyone want to come online, or should we go over to the next question and park this for a minute? Neha, can you ask the next question, and I'll touch base with our colleagues who might be able to answer. Otherwise, we're happy to take this question offline. Mark, I'll take your details now.
Sure. The next question is, due to the pandemic, is there any change in approaching or working with the public health department?
Is that to me, Surah, again?
If you can.
Yes. Say the question again. Sorry. Changes to working with the public health department. Is that the question?
Yes. Due to the pandemic, is there any change in approaching or working with the public health department?
And I think that the response would be, it depends on how the company wishes to work with them. What is the objective? There are many pathways into working with the healthcare system, but even the terminology public health system would probably need some understanding. So I would want to ask some more questions just to understand the specificity of what the actual need is, unfortunately. So please come back to me individually and we can explore that.
Thank you. I think maybe also, I think one point is that there's a lot more telemedicine uptake, you know, which before was available, but there was just some resistance of, you know, video conferencing, phone conferencing, calls with your doctor, GP, surgeon, you know, specialist, which I think has been, you know, accelerated quite a lot. Is there any more questions, Neha, or should we move on to the next section?
I think we can move on, Sura.
Great. So Mark, we'll come back to you in a little bit, if that's okay. So I would like to now introduce Suzanne Hassan Ali from UCL Partners, and she will explain to us a little bit more about the work of the academic health science networks in bringing NHS, in bringing the innovations to the NHS. So Suzanne, can I ask you to come online?
Yes, hi, good morning all. Lovely to be part of this session today. Just to briefly, as we're bringing up these slides, to answer the question that went forward to Neelam, there is an entire organisation called NHS Supply Chain, which you can apply to be a formal supplier of the NHS. So I would urge the person that asked that question to have a look at that website. So today, my name is Susie Ali Hassan. I'm Head of Commercial for UCL Partners. I'll describe UCL Partners shortly. We are one of several organisations in the UK that support NHS market access. So I'm going to take a moment or two to explain a little bit about the UK ecosystem, how my organisation is structured and how we can support you engage and work in the UK. So next slide, please. So as you're all aware, the National Health Service is the world's largest single payer for healthcare. It's globally recognised with brands like the NHS and also NICE as organisations providing guidance and accreditation for new products working in the healthcare system. And they're all recognised across other healthcare markets as well. Next slide, please. Although the UK is a small place, we do generally work around sort of hubs across the UK just to respond to local need and to recognise local capability. So we've heard from Med City today and Neelam recognising London and the Greater South East as a major cluster for health and life sciences. Next slide, please. We recognise we're a complete pathway through innovation. So we work all the way through from bench side through to bedside. So invention and the academic community is very strong here, through to evaluation within the NHS and adoption and spread within the health system. So broadly, the Department of Health funds clinical healthcare provision and also clinical research through organisations like the National Institute for Health Research, the NIHR, regulatory bodies, and NICE, as I mentioned, around standards and guidelines for clinical practice. Next. Just briefly to mention these as major funders of research, again, looking along the pathway here, the MRC looking at very academic and translational research, Wellcome Clinical, NIHR, Innovate UK that funds business. A lot of the caveat to accessing that funding, however, is that you have a UK entity set up here and that you are partnered with a UK institution. Next slide, please. Just to touch on some of the research infrastructure for those that are looking for more academic or clinical partners, the NIHR supports and funds a number of biomedical research centres, which is a partnership between university and hospitals, major universities and research hospitals. Some of them in specialised centres. We have down here in London, of course, Moorfields for eyes, Great Ormond Street for children's healthcare, and a number of clinical research facilities. So they are translational research infrastructure, and they are also set up and interested in working with industry as well. Next slide, please. Broader than that sort of academic translational space, the NIHR also works within medtech and in vitro diagnostics, evaluating them in practice and helping them evidence their clinical utility. The Clinical Research Network delivers clinical trials through the NHS, and the ARC's looking at applied health research and practice. So it's really just to give you an idea that there are organisations and bodies set up to work with you throughout your journey and your innovation pathway. Next, please. Where it comes to market access, if we just tap on again, we as the Academic Health Science Networks, the AHSNs, are set up regionally across the country. My own is based here in London and the South East. And we are set up to support local and regional needs. So where your product may have a real true need in the north of England, it may not be quite as required in the south, i.e. the disease burden is different, the patient demographic, the geography, all of these things can be very varied and affect your actual market potential. Just tap on, please. This is just briefly around our funders. We'll just move on again. So I think we went too far then. So UCL Partners is one of the 3 London-based AHSNs. If you just move on. This is a list of all of our partners. So we have a membership of 23 NHS trusts, 9 universities, all listed there. 20 clinical commissioning groups, and we're also affiliated with 4 other, actually now, sort of organisational bodies. So we're quite an ecosystem covering a range of stakeholders and those involved in health innovation, and really those that would be interested in purchasing your product. Next slide, please. We're made up of different parts, as I said. Tap on. Next. And where we work with industry is really focused on, sorry, next slide. Work with industry is really around commercial and new technology and products, and those that are going to stimulate innovation within the health system. So we're really set up to help the industry and the NHS work together. We're generally of 2 halves, and this is my organisation in UCLP. So we have a sort of commercial industry facing arm to really work and engage with the industry partner and understand what they have. And we've also got an NHS facing side that build a lot of engagement and networking across our partnership. This is really, really important to actually be the honest broker between industry and a new product, and also and introducing it to the health system. So we broadly link out to other AHSNs as well. Next slide, please. And next. So a big focus of ours in supporting industry understand the NHS is around evidence. So we really focus on a product's ability to be ready for spread and scale and selling into the NHS. Often a company believes that they have all components necessary in order to really persuade someone to buy their product, which is often not the case, particularly those from international markets, because their product hasn't been evidenced in the NHS, and the NHS is very different to other healthcare systems. So where we move along market readiness, we look at aspects of true need, of whether it's been demonstrated in the real world, looking at usability and any pilots that might be required. And then we're looking at spread and scale and actual implementation and what some of those barriers or enablers might be. These are the main pillars of evidence that we work for. The product has to be clinically safe and effective. It does what it says it does and regulated. It has to save money and demonstrate clearly a budget impact model. And also looking at case studies and actual use within the NHS, and NHS reference site being very, very important. Next slide, please. So broadly, our support for industry, if we focus on those kind of parameters, is helping companies build up their evidence base. So we will assess the product, we will understand where the gaps in evidence might be and advise on how you might want to go about closing it. We can broker and advise where to look for NHS sites that would be interested in demonstrating real world effectiveness of the product. And where a product is well evidenced and we feel like it's got something very compelling, we look at developing communication packages across our ecosystem and broadly across the network to support scale up of good products and innovations. We will facilitate and introduce you to local and national stakeholders if we feel the product has a compelling value proposition. So it's very important to say we're not an introductory agency. We don't extend your sales team. We work with you to get to a point where we feel you have something really, really worthwhile to share with our NHS partners. And one area of interest will be that we are really, really interested in co-creation of solutions increasingly with industry, where industry are looking to partner perhaps with an NHS provider, maybe in AI, looking at developing quite bespoke solutions for local challenges, particularly those that have arisen due to COVID. Next slide, please. So broadly, the NHS can be very complex, but we are set up to support and help you navigate through the system. I would advise that you consider market entry a staged process. It's not going to be sort of a very easy first sale, and actually considering clinical validation in the UK as part of your market access strategy is often the best way to go. So where you've actually validated the product within the ecosystem already. And key also for international companies is to understand the NHS clinical pathway, which is often different to those that have been developed in other parts of the world. The NHS pathways are different and unique, and again, how your technology or intervention interacts with that pathway will have an effect up and downstream the entire breadth of stakeholders involved in that delivering that care. I'll pause there and happy to answer any questions. We are specifically NHS market focused, although we can also help signpost to other relevant stakeholders where necessary. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Actually, I think we have 2 or 3 minutes we could use for some questions. So maybe Susie, you could elaborate a little bit more about you know, the actual kind of practical access, because we have a lot of companies we work with who they have a product which is, you know, selling in their market already, and obviously they think that they can come to the UK and, you know, just sell the product again, basically. So what would you say to them? You know, why do they need to actually, you know, prove it again that their product works, and how can they then, you know, fit into that clinical pathway locally here? Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on this.
Yeah, of course. So I think, as I emphasised, you know, understanding the pathway that you're going to be placing the product is key. The way the UK Health NHS services are structured is that you have primary care services, community-based services, and secondary care-based services, and some obviously specialised, which is can actually, where that care is delivered, can be varied. So where you think your intervention might take place is perhaps not always where it will be delivered if it's worked in the UK. So it's important to understand that the whole pathway and the patient, the way the patient moves through the system. We can help you do that. We can also we also emphasise the need to understand the cost and versus affordability of the product as well. The cost may be show broad macro level health economics that are quite compelling, but at an individual provider level, it's not quite as clear cut as you might imagine it to be. So we really do emphasise understanding the cost versus affordability of your product, and also where it's needed.
Thank you very much for this. And maybe possibly you could also explain a little bit more about the other programs you're involved, like the NHS Accelerator, and maybe also highlight that you know, you're a part of a London network as well of other AHSNs, and maybe explain what the differences are so that people know where to kind of start their approach. So if they, you know, they have a choice of 3 or 4 AHSNs in London, where should they go first?
Yes, absolutely. And actually that's, there was the slide missing I was looking for earlier, was just showing where we sit in terms of the London ecosystem and our geography. So as I mentioned, we're one of 3 London AHSNs. We cover the North East Central London, big major hospitals like UCLH, Barts, Great Ormond Street, as I mentioned, and the Royal Free, and out into other parts of out of London into Essex and North. We work very collaboratively, of course, with the other three London AHSNs, and we share good technology, we share good innovation with each other, and we work very collaboratively. Where you start your journey doesn't matter. That's part of us being the network, is that we pick things up from each other. However, every AHSN will be slightly different in what they might offer you or the services they deliver. In terms of accelerators, we are one of the founding partners of the Digital Health London Accelerator and the Digital Health London programme, where there is a dedicated 12-month support for peer-reviewed and assessed digital products that need support and help getting into the NHS, and that is open to international companies as well, as is the NHS Innovation Accelerator. So that's the NIA, and it's actually UCL Partners is actually the host for the NIA, and that's a national accelerator program for companies that are interested in working and accelerating their access into the NHS. To get in touch with us at UCLP is commercialteam@uclpartners.com. So it's on my last slide there. There's a standard engagement process. So we will get you to complete company engagement form, which asks key questions about the evidence you have so far. And so we can kind of rapidly assess where you might be. And then we'll look to have an initial phone call to look and explore next steps with you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, there were lots of questions about how to get in touch. I've just posted the email address on the chat, the commercial team email, and I've also posted the links to the accelerator programs, which were just mentioned. They normally start, I think, late summer, early autumn for registration. So that's great. Thank you so much. We do have a session later on with some of you, and explaining a bit more about the AHSN work. Please do get in touch with us after the event, so we can then also direct you to the network and to other sessions they are running. So now I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker, which is Tasmina Goraya, a partner at Taylor Wessing Law Firm, and she will give us an update about regulations around Brexit and what companies need to consider in light of this. So Tasmina, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here today. So as Sarah mentioned, I've been asked to give you a quick update on the regulatory changes that will be brought in following Brexit, or the UK's departure from the European Union as of the 1st of January 2021. We'll be touching on medicines and medical devices in particular, but if there's other areas like PPE or telemedicine that you have queries about, I'm happy to address those as well in the Q&A session. So if I could have the next slide. So where are we now? So the UK left the European Union at 11 p.m. UK time on the 31st of January 2020. And we're currently in a transition period, which ends at 11 p.m. UK time on the 31st of December. So during that transition period, UK law remained applicable to the UK. However, as many of you know, there are ongoing negotiations between the UK government and the European Union about the terms of the free trade agreement that would apply following the UK's exit. That deal will need to be ratified and agreed and ratified by both the UK Parliament and the EU in the coming weeks. Some of you may have seen from the news that there are some significant points of differences at the moment, and negotiations have been escalated to the principal level to some extent, with the UK Prime Minister planning to go to Brussels to speak to the European Commission President later this week. So the talk today is based largely on guidance and legislation that has been published in the UK that goes towards a assumption that there will be a deal in the coming weeks between the UK and the EU. You may know that the UK is actually split into 4 nations, so England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So because of Northern Ireland and its special rules around the Good Friday Agreement, as well as the Northern Ireland Protocol, there will be differences in how the regulatory regimes work in Great Britain, so England, Wales, and Scotland, versus Northern Ireland, to ensure that there isn't a hard border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. If I could have the next slide. So this slide basically summarizes at a very high level the frameworks that would apply to medical devices in the UK from the 1st of January 2021. The good news is that if you have a CE marked medical device, or you're planning to have a device CE marked over the coming months or years, you will be able to continue to place the device on the GB market or put it into service until the 30th of June 2023. So there'll be a further transition period in the UK. As mentioned, there are special rules that will apply to Northern Ireland, meaning that CE marked medical devices can continue to be placed on the market, on the Northern Ireland market, or put into service there for additional periods, subject to further additional requirements. In Great Britain, all medical devices will need to be registered from the 1st of January 2021. However, there is a grace period which depends on the risk profile of the medical device, i.e. its classification. So taking class 3 medical devices, for example, those would need to be registered within 4 months. So in May 2021, class 1 medical devices within 12 months. If you already have a CE marked medical device on the UK market or in the EU, there are a few things that you would need to consider. For example, where your authorized representative is based, if you're a manufacturer based outside of the UK or the European Union. So if you're planning to continue to sell your products or your devices in the European Union, you will need an authorized representative established in the European Union. In the UK, from the 1st of January, there will be the concept of a UK responsible person, analogous to the authorized representative role in the UK. So you would have to appoint a UK responsible person for medical devices on the UK market. Similarly, with notified bodies, if you have a medical device that requires a notified body, for example, class 2A, 2B, or class 3, and even certain class 1 medical devices, for example, those which are sterile, you need to have a look at your notified body to see again whether they have a establishment in the European Union, if they are UK based, to ensure that you have continuity there. In respect of the new EU medical device regulation and the EU in vitro diagnostics regulation, the 2 pieces of EU legislation which are due to come into effect shortly. So the first one, the MDR, the medical devices regulation, is due to come into force or come into application by May 2021. Those 2 pieces of legislation will not apply in Great Britain from the 1st of January and going forward. And the reason for that is because the application date falls after the 1st of January exit date. So the new framework in the UK, it is available from the 1st of January 2021. As mentioned, it's slightly different in Great Britain versus Northern Ireland. In Great Britain, it will broadly follow the existing legislation, which follows the 3 principal medical device directives, which are currently applicable in the UK. There will not be the concept of the CE mark, but it will be replaced by the UK Conformity Assessment Mark, the UKCA mark for Great Britain. In Northern Ireland, medical devices will still need to be CE marked, but they must also carry a UK NI mark as well. For the European Union, if you wish to sell your medical devices there, they should be CE marked as they currently are. They can only carry the CE mark, they cannot be co-marked with, say, the GB UKCA mark. UK approved bodies are the analogous body to the notified. UK notified bodies that are currently designated under the medical devices directives will become a UK approved bodies, and they would oversee the UKCA marking. As mentioned, there are registration requirements and there will be labelling requirements as well for products sold in on the UK market. So that's both the GB market and the Northern Ireland market. If I could have the next slide, please. So on to medicines. The rules around medicines are quite complicated, but I will just give you a high-level review of those. So the general position for medicines in most countries is that you do need a marketing authorization before they are put onto the market, before they are sold. At the moment, under the EU rules, there are four main routes for obtaining a marketing authorization. The centralized route, which will give the marketing authorization holder a single marketing authorization that will cover all EU member states. The decentralized procedure and the mutual recognition procedure, they are based on an existing marketing authorization within the EU or a marketing authorization application. They also can give rise to a number of marketing authorizations in various countries. And there's also the national procedure as well, so obtaining a national marketing authorization under national laws. So the position in Great Britain will be for centralized applications or marketing authorizations granted under the centralized route. Those will be grandfathered in as national applications, so they will be automatically converted into GB marketing authorizations without charge. For pending applications under the centralized procedure, it really depends on where in that stage you are. But the decentralized procedure and the mutual recognition procedure, we are expecting updated guidance from the NIHR, the UK's regulator for medicines and medical devices, shortly, which will provide clarification on how those will be dealt with under the GB regulatory framework. There will be new assessment routes available in Great Britain from the 1st of January 2020. For example, there will be an expedited route for certain types of medicines, meaning that you can get a marketing authorization more quickly than is currently the case. Around manufacturing and supply chain, the Department of Health and Social Care did write to manufacturers and suppliers of medicines and medical devices back in August in order to prepare for Brexit or the end of the transition period. A further letter was sent on the 17th of November, a couple of weeks ago, just again highlighting the contingencies and planning for Brexit. That's available on the government's website. At present, there is no mutual recognition agreement between the European Union and the UK regarding good manufacturing practice for medicines. So, for example, batch releases of medicines. So that would mean at present, there would need to be GMP, good manufacturing practices, checks and inspections done on both sides of the border, which could cause some delays. On clinical trials, those are broadly, the rules around clinical trials for medicines are broadly the same. There are some changes depending on where you're doing your clinical trials. For example, if you're doing trials in both the EU and the UK, and also where the sponsor or legal representatives are based. So the precise rules regarding medicines and medical devices will depend on the outcome of the ongoing negotiations between the UK and the European Union. However, as other speakers have said during the course of today, the UK is a world-leading place for research development. It provides a unique ecosystem to support life sciences businesses and to support innovation. And that is reflected in the draft legislation dealing with Brexit. Innovation is key, and the draft legislation seeks to capitalise on the UK's heritage in scientific advancements and innovation, and continues to seek to attract businesses to the UK. So it's very much in favour of retaining the innovative nature of life sciences in the UK and making the UK an attractive place for businesses. We also have a very experienced regulator, the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, the MHRA, which regulates medicines and medical devices, who will guide and implement the new rules following the 1st of January 2021. So I think we are well placed to deal with Brexit. There is a swathe of guidance and draft legislation in place at the moment. The UK remains a great place to do business and to have your research and development in a really great ecosystem here in the UK. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them, both on medicines, medical devices, PPE, telemedicine, or any other area that you're interested in the life sciences space.
Thank you, Tasmina. Then Kun, there's one more slide with the contact details, and we have also shared the Taylor Wessing Life Sciences website on the chat if anyone is interested. There's also a newsletter, I think monthly, which is really good on regulation and Brexit updates. So we have now, we've almost come to the end. So we are going to hand over now to Chris Heffer from the Department for International Trade. He's based in Tokyo. So he will deliver the closing keynote for us, and after that we will have a further Q&A, so please do stay on with us to answer more questions. I'm handing over to Chris now. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Sora. Good morning to colleagues in the UK, companies in Europe. Good afternoon to those of you who are in the Asian time zone. I know we've got people on the line from India, China, we've heard about, companies in Korea, I think in Belgium as well. As Sora said, my name's Chris Heffer. So I'm based here in the British Embassy in Tokyo, and I head up a trade and investment team here in Japan, but have teams also in Korea and Taiwan. And I have colleagues based in our embassies across the whole world and every part of your region. So you've heard from London and Partners, Focus on London today, a fabulous event and a pitch for London, and colleagues in particular in China and India. If you're in a country unlucky enough not to have a London and Partners representative, find us at the embassy. We are the DIT, or the Trade and Investment Team, and happy to join you up. And I guess my key message is we are here to help you invest in the UK. We're passionate about it. It's our job. It's what we like doing. And we're here to work as one seamless team to get you into the UK and into London. And actually, I've already seen in the chat, lots of you asking very specific questions about the sort of business you are and how do you get in. And that's where these talks kind of get far more granular, far more real. We can be of greater help. So there's no wrong entry point, and all roads point to London, I think you've heard today. So you've heard a fabulous pitch from teams across the London and Partner team, from Daniel, from Neelam at medtech, from Claude at Bart's world leading hospital to an existing investor, Daryl at Shivom, and then Tasmina taking you through the latest in the Brexit kind of update. I guess just three quick things from me then is to say, look, we're passionate about helping you get into market. This part of the world, if I can be a little bit Asia focused for a moment, matters hugely to the UK. Actually, investment from Asia is, in the UK's terms, twice as effective as investment from other parts of the world. So never mind those North American clients that Daryl was focusing on. This part of the world matters. It matters for growth and it matters to the UK, and we're here to help. Secondly, you'll see the government actually reaching out and creating a series of trade agreements across this part of the world. Firstly, here in Japan, where I am, but continuity agreements, taking existing provisions in Singapore, Korea, Vietnam. We're looking at agreements in Australia and New Zealand. And I know we've got India, China, and Korea on our sites in the future as well. So it matters, and we're here to kind of smooth your journey. And this part of the world is growing in its importance, it's growing its innovation, and it's growing importance to the UK too. You heard a fabulous pitch for London and a fabulous pitch for the UK from the leading universities, top 2 out of 3 in the world, 5 out of 20, 80 Nobel Prizes across the UK, 250,000 people working in the industry. You heard about the National Health Service, the single largest integrated health system with one set of data, and amazing programs such as the 100,000 genomes. More broadly, you heard a little bit about the wider UK policy environment, and I'll pick up on a couple of bits of those. So you heard about the EU exit plans, actually in a way that pivots us from Europe to this part of the world, to Asia, and it means our door is more open to talent and to investment from across the world. We are massively increasing our R&D spend from 1.7% of GDP to 2.4%, so about a 25% increase. We are centralising some of our investment support with a new Office of Life Science based in number 10 to try and get the most high-profile investments landed. So if London and Partners can't help you and we can't help you, maybe the Prime Minister can. We're also focused on solving the world's problems, if that isn't too small a task. We know healthy ageing is a challenge for Britain. It's a challenge for this part of the world as well. And we need to work together in how we solve those. A number of you are asking about digital and telemedicine, clearly transforming the NHS and our world in the pandemic as well. And there's a fabulous Personalised and Healthcare Plan 2020 with all sorts of sections published in great.gov.uk. I'll try and send around the link to that. We take you through whether it's patient domains, science domains, carer domains, and all sorts of offers that you might have to pitch. So we're here to help your investment matters, and the UK is an amazing place for you to invest, both in the UK and as a way to export back to the world. As you slightly heard, there are many ways into the NHS, and actually taking your time to find out whether you're selling to GP clinics, to academic health science networks, to the national supply chain, to local commissioning groups or government is a little bit complex. And I guess I would say reach out to us. We will help you through that conversation and try and find the right way to land your investment. So thank you, Surah and colleagues. Look forward to working with you. Thank you, companies who've joined the call. We look forward to picking up conversations with you as best we can. Over to you, Surah, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. So just to reiterate, yes, if you are based anywhere in the world, there will be a British embassy and there is a team there to support you locally with your first steps to coming to the UK, and even just exploring the idea if there is an opportunity for you. So please do get in touch with your local embassy as well. And we do work with all the embassies in collaboration. So we do work in partnership together with the Department for International Trade. Thank you so much. So we will now, before we start the Q&A, we will start a quick poll to get your feedback, please, to the event. This really helps us to shape future events. So Koen, if you can launch the